On the evening of September 28, 1991, the quiet neighborhood of Foxdale Loop in East San Jose, California, was shattered by a violent confrontation that left a young teenager dead. The victim, 14-year-old Raymond Ojeda, was caught up in a tragic series of events that would forever change his family's life. Raymond Ojeda was a typical 14-year-old, known for his bright smile and kind nature. However, like many teens in that era and environment, he found himself living in a community where gang culture was pervasive. Despite his young age, Ojeda was not unfamiliar with the tensions and dangers that lurked in his neighborhood. On that fateful evening, Ojeda was outside in his neighborhood when he encountered a group of older teens, including 15-year-old Gerardo Aguilar. Aguilar, a member of a local gang, was embroiled in the volatile atmosphere of gang rivalry that dominated parts of East San Jose at the time. The reasons for the confrontation are not entirely clear, whether it was a planned encounter, a chance meeting, or the result of simmering tensions between rival groups. But what is certain is that it escalated rapidly. In the blink of an eye, what might have been a verbal dispute turned deadly. Aguilar, in a moment of senseless violence, pulled out a gun and fired at Raymond Ojeda. The young teen, who had his whole life ahead of him, was struck down by the bullet, collapsing to the ground as his attacker fled the scene. The sound of gunfire echoed through the neighborhood, drawing immediate attention and panic. Witnesses to the crime were horrified. The image of a young boy lying lifeless on the ground, the victim of a gang-related shooting, was a stark reminder of the violence that plagued their community. Despite the presence of witnesses, the fear of gang retaliation often kept people silent, making it difficult for law enforcement to gather reliable information in the immediate aftermath. Immediately following the shooting of Raymond Ojeda, the San Jose Police Department launched an intensive investigation into the incident. The primary focus was on identifying the shooter, and it didn't take long for Gerardo Aguilar to emerge as the main suspect. Witnesses at the scene, though initially hesitant, eventually provided information that pointed directly to Aguilar. His involvement in local gang activities was well known, and the description of the shooter matched him perfectly. The authorities quickly moved to issue a juvenile arrest warrant for Aguilar. Given his young age, just 15 years old, there was a hope that he could be apprehended swiftly and brought to justice before he had the chance to flee or go into hiding. However, Aguilar, aware of the severity of his crime and the inevitable consequences, had no intention of facing justice. Aguilar managed to disappear almost immediately after the incident. The details of how he was able to evade capture are murky, but it's believed that he received help from other gang members or associates who provided him with resources and connections to leave the area. It's also possible that the pervasive fear of gang retaliation played a role in the community's reluctance to assist law enforcement fully, allowing Aguilar to slip away undetected. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the trail went cold. Aguilar had vanished without a trace. Despite numerous efforts by the police to locate him, including tracking down leads and following up on tips from informants, Aguilar remained elusive. His ability to evade law enforcement baffled investigators and added to the frustration and anguish felt by Ojeda's family. The case eventually became one of many unsolved gang-related homicides in San Jose, a city grappling with the challenges of gang violence during the early 1990s. For the Ojeda family, the lack of closure was particularly painful. They had lost a beloved son, and his killer had seemingly disappeared without a trace, leaving them to deal with their grief and loss with no sense of justice or resolution. During this time, Aguilar was not only on the run, but had also managed to establish a new identity. He began living under the alias Gerardo Mulatto, far away from California in the state of Ohio. Under this new name, Aguilar tried to start a new life, distancing himself from his violent past He moved to Forest Park, a quiet suburb of Cincinnati, and kept a low profile. Despite his criminal past, Aguilar was able to integrate into the community, avoiding any activities that might draw attention to his true identity. The San Jose Police Department, though burdened with numerous cases, never officially closed the investigation into Ojeda's murder. The case remained open, waiting for any new leads that might emerge. However, as time passed, the likelihood of finding Aguilar seemed to diminish, and the case slowly faded from the public's memory. Yet, despite the passage of time, the investigation was never forgotten by those who worked on it, or by the family of Raymond Ojeda. The hope for justice lingered, even as Aguilar continued to live his life under an assumed identity, far from the consequences of his actions on that tragic day in 1991. Nevertheless, everything changed in early 2024 when the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office Cold Case Unit, under the direction of District Attorney Jeff Rosen, made a significant breakthrough. This development was spearheaded by investigator John Carey, whose dedication and instincts played a crucial role in unearthing the truth. John Carey, a seasoned investigator with the Cold Case Unit, decided to re-examine the Ojeda case, hoping that advances in technology and investigative techniques might reveal something new. His attention was drawn to the suspect, Gerardo Aguilar, who had managed to evade capture for so long. Carey suspected that Aguilar might still be alive, but living under a different identity. Carey's breakthrough came when he followed a hunch related to Aguilar's possible family connections. During his research, he discovered that Aguilar had a sister whose last name was Mulatto. This discovery led Carey to explore records of individuals with the surname Mulatto, hoping to find any potential links to the elusive suspect. His search led him to a man living in Forest Park, Ohio, near Cincinnati, who went by the name Gerardo Mulatto. Carey's investigation intensified as he began comparing photographs of Aguilar from the time of the 1991 murder to those of the man known as Gerardo Mulatto. The resemblance was striking, but it was the DNA analysis that would provide the conclusive evidence needed. Samples were obtained and analyzed, confirming that Gerardo Mulatto was indeed Gerardo Aguilar, the man responsible for the murder of Raymond Ojeda. This revelation was a significant moment for the Cold Case Unit and for the Ojeda family, who had been waiting for justice for over 3 decades. The discovery of Aguilar's true identity, however, came with a tragic twist. It was revealed that Aguilar had been killed in 2007 during a shootout with the FBI. At the time of his death, Aguilar, under the alias of Mulatto, was involved in drug trafficking and had been under investigation by the FBI. During a botched operation where the FBI was attempting to install a tracking device on his vehicle, Aguilar, believing them to be car thieves, confronted the agents with a gun and was fatally shot. The confirmation that Aguilar had been living under an assumed identity for so long, and that he had continued to engage in criminal activities, only added to the complexity of the case. For the Ojeda family, there was some solace in knowing that Aguilar had been identified and that his actions had finally caught up with him, even if it was in a different context. For District Attorney Jeff Rosen and his team, the resolution of this case was a reminder that it's never too late to identify a killer, reaffirming their commitment to pursuing justice for victims and their families. That being said, it's hard not to wonder about the long-lasting effects of gang involvement on young lives. How many more children are drawn into a world of violence without fully understanding the consequences? What role does the community play in either fueling or preventing these tragic outcomes? The story of Raymond Ojeda is a stark reminder of how deeply these issues can impact families and neighborhoods alike. What are your thoughts on how communities can better protect their youth from such destructive paths? Comment below.